Um, so this morning we talked about goal setting, tying it to your values and identities. What I wanted to get a quick, not like, I don't want a life story, 2-minute response to this. Uh, but, uh, but what are typical reasons, and Alan, can you hand me my iPad actually? What gets in the way of changing your behavior typically? You're in one place and you want to be something else. What is it? Complacency, core beliefs, overwhelm, John, comfort. Okay, awesome. Fear, ingrained habits, absolutely. Who spends more time than they would like on social media? Nobody. Oh, wait, a couple people. Okay. What about maybe watching a video and then another follow-up video comes on behind it, and then even another one, and you end up 15 minutes later thinking, oh, wait, how did I get sucked into this? What about the first 15, 20 minutes of waking up, and whose phone, in a consumptive way, is part of their wake-up routine? They wake up, and then their phone comes in. Okay. Oh, well, so that's fine. What about pulling up an email or a social media thing that basically starts to set the tone for your morning every day? Calendar, okay. So there are a lot of things like that, and I've run a lot of these entrepreneur groups where we, talk a lot about this kind of thing and changing it, whatever. One of the examples I use is, it's fun to scroll through videos at night, right? Like I personally really like Russian dash cam videos are a favorite of mine. Entertaining, maybe street fights every once in a while. I'm from Rose Park, we had that connection. Those don't leave me feeling too good. I'm mostly recovered from that. But there are things that you do. So one of the examples we go through is, imagine that you had an avatar, you're in the game of life, and you get to program an avatar and set all of their attributes, great hair maybe, for some of us. But you get to program what that avatar does. Okay, first thing in the morning, do you allow him or her to pick up the phone? Do you allow, and if you could completely control them for success, would they pull out their phone and hang out on the phone for the first 45 minutes? Would they go to bed with their phone to, scroll for 45 minutes before? Yay or nay, whatever. So the idea is to, at least on paper, going back to what I talked about this morning, this idea of like writing your story, writing your ideal. What does your perfect day look like? What does your perfect evening look like? Just writing it out, even if you don't have the willpower and if you're too overwhelmed to even approach it. But taking the time to think, what would it look like in a perfect world where I didn't get hijacked all the time, or where I ran out of willpower way too soon? In a perfect world, what would it look like? And it's a fun place to be, and I would say that long term, you can bend yourself and move there in that direction. So I want to talk about rules for the road. My wife and I this summer, we've got 6 kids from 3 to 14. And we had this great idea, and we've done this other times, but we wanted to do something really epic this summer. So we decided, I'd always wanted to take a cruise across the Atlantic. So we packed our bicycles in boxes. The 2 youngest rode in bike trailers. So we pack our bicycles. So I had 8 big boxes, and we flew to New Jersey, and we took a sailboat to Rome that took 2 weeks. 5 days before, and this is where my wife and I have marriage problems sometimes, I said, instead of going to Rome where the cruise ends, maybe we're stopping in Marseille. And the Rhone River is like 20-mile bike ride north of Marseille. Let's just get off in Marseille and ride our bikes to the Rhone, and then ride up the Rhone into the hills. You just kind of go whoop up into the Alps, about 8,000 feet, and then whoop down the Rhine River to the North Sea. Yeah. Yeah. So it took her about 2 days to get on board with that, which was good because we were 4 days away from Marseille. So we got off in Marseille, unboxed our bikes, and then we rode to the Rhone River. Bad traffic out of Marseille. Screaming, some crying. Turn that stupid camera off, Dad. Type moments. But so we rode up the Rhone River, down the Rhine. It took us 3 months, 1,800 miles. Amazing trip. My 8-year-old, she rode 1,500 of the 1,800 miles. Otherwise, I towed her with a little red rope that I brought. Really amazing, awesome, great trip. But as you can imagine, there are certain things that we've done 8 months of that kind of travel. And there, in 8 months of that kind of travel, we've learned through really bad experiences what can happen when you don't obey certain rules. So, for example, like one of our rules when riding bikes is you never turn without the person behind you knowing that you've turned and seeing that they make the same turn. Ever. I lost a little brother for 2 days. I lost a buddy for a day. In even more stories, we've had several, we lost a friend's 16-year-old for 3 hours. And he was big, he was a man. He was huge, so we weren't too worried about his safety, but it was still kind of like, whatever. Why is she so worried about him? No. But lots of things, like that one little rule, you never turn without the person behind you seeing it. Or intersections, you always make sure to safely shuttle the person behind you. You never go through an intersection when a kid is behind you because they might not see it in the same way. Right? So lots of concern and care about intersections are a big deal. We had to really inflate. Intersections are a big deal. And it doesn't take many scares for that to become a thing, right? And there are several other, not a lot, but there are several other rules like that would enable us. We made sure that we had to get 60% of our miles before lunch every day. We'd go more than halfway before lunch so we could get the proper amount of miles. We had to go 30 miles, 35 miles a day. That was our average. So if you're going to take a bunch of kids 30 miles on a bike, there are different things that you have to do. So rules like that. Never eating lunch past 2 because, the kids start to get cranky. There's all these things, right? And it's not just kids. Most of us get hangry. Does anybody get hangry? We're not always operating at an optimal level, right? But you have ways that we operate that leave us in a state where we're going to underperform. So I call those rules for the road. There are different rules for the road that we should establish that allow you to operate at a high level. I'm a total sleep snob. For me, one of my rules for the road, and it took 10 years of 6 hours of sleep and then a $5,000 sleep study to realize I should just try sleeping more. But the minute I personally went to 7 hours, like, oh wow, this is what it feels like to be alive. And I don't need to caffeinate and I can just be ready to go. Oh, wow, okay. So that's one of my rules for the road. I sleep 7 hours, right? I want you to imagine. So Nancy, what do we got? I think we've got till 3:10. Okay. I want you to just think about these 3 things. So I'm not an artist, and I don't aspire to be one actually right now. But that's a fire, okay? Okay. Imagine campfire. You have mountains, and then the path. So this morning, we talked about the why and what drives you and what stirs you up emotionally, what makes you want to fight for something, why you go to work, why you change a behavior. I would call that like the campfire. That's you're going to go and spend time, and you have to spend time around the campfire. You have to spend time thinking, Not just doing, not just every year, hey, I'm going to write my goals for 5 minutes, but really thinking about what you want, why you want it, what it means to you, what will it mean to you if you don't get it? You know, if you screw up in one way, is there enough consequence there? Just really thinking about what you want. So that's kind of spending time around the campfire. The mountains, those are like, I'd love to run an Ironman someday. These are the goals. So the mountain are like, what goals do I want? What's my bucket list? What are the things that I want to accomplish and achieve? And then the trail, and I say kind of the road, the trail, the trekking element is, how do you operate every single day? So how do you wake up? How do you go to sleep? Is your avatar gonna go to sleep spending an hour on the phone every evening before and getting one less hour of sleep? For me, mindset wise, I try to just throw this loser in bed by 9:40, because I'm like, at night I'm not doing anything productive. My mind's just stirring. I might want to watch, Russian dash cam videos and waste my time, and then I lose my sleep. No way. Like, one of my rules for the road, like how I travel, like how I move day in, day out, is I shut off and I go to sleep. First thing when I wake up, I don't consume anything that is by chance. I'm not going to look at my email. Heck, I took email off my phone 2 years ago. Interesting experiment that's kind of stayed there, but I don't allow anybody to like access me. There's no like LinkedIn checking. There's no, I say language, scripture, journal. I'm actually 3,525 days of consistent journal writing. If anybody is a journal writer or wants to be, I would love to evangelize to you on the benefits, because it's been a cool thing, and putting that in my morning has been really powerful. But whatever it is, those are things for me that help me align with who I want to be. To say, oh, my morning has this routine in it. Naturally, I'm super ADD, and I love notifications. I love Facebook. I love social media. I love being on top of everything. I'm like so curious, and I have FOMO all the time. So much more than the average person. So I think it makes it more important for me to have these hard, fast, like kind of extreme habits. I went off added sugars 4 years ago because I love cookies, and not 4, but like 7, and I have no self-control. And that's a different rule for the road for me, where I say, oh, I eat to feel amazing and I want to feel great. And it's just way easier for me to just go off sugar, right? To just go off things that have added sugar in it, just little stuff. And I'm not saying that everybody should do that. Most people have way more self-control and moderation than me and don't even need to. So it doesn't matter. But those are things based on how I work and what I want. Those are things that I'm going to do. So what are you taking? So can you think, has anybody thought of like, oh, a rule for the road for me could be X, or maybe I should consider doing whatever. Has anybody had any thoughts that they want to share? Yeah. The adventure doesn't begin until something goes wrong. Can you elaborate on that? Okay. Okay, I love it. Awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't a vacation. Yeah, it was an adventure. Awesome. Great. Others? Ideas of like rules for the road. Yeah.
Restaurant, I look at what top burger they choose to eat. And sometimes it takes me 20 minutes because I get so in this rabbit hole. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I just need to go with something that 80% satisfies what I want. Go for it. That saves me 20 minutes every single day.
So to be more decisive.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
I've got 7 kids, and my rule of the road is if they don't want to go, leave them at the hotel.
Wait, say that again.
If they don't want to go, leave them at the hotel.
Yeah. We just say, you actually have to come. We can't leave you.
I'm old enough to leave.
Oh, yeah. We'll we're running out of our time to manipulate them and control them fully, but any others? Joe.
Try to remember the purpose behind things, not to get too mixed up in the weeds, because there's a lot of shiny objects, and if I keep focused on what is important to me, which for a lot of the theme was this is family, then it helps refocus the adventure toward what should be the focus, my pathway.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, so to finish up, we have 5 minutes, so I'll do it in 4. There's this idea of mediocrity, and we should be great. Like, hey, try to be awesome at everything you're doing, and we should be great. And you know, I cry with like every sports inspiration movie there is. Like, I'm crying and like crazy flushed and so into it. So I love this idea of greatness and, you know, amazing. What I found in working with people is a lot of people want to be great, and they go and make a great plan, and they go from 0 to like this 100 plan, and then the 100 plan fails, and they go back to 0 and kind of stay there. Instead of saying, maybe I should go from 0 to 5. 0 to 5 is not sexy and, you know, maybe not fun, and a lot of us don't go there. But 7 years ago, I started studying French for like 30 seconds to 5 minutes a day. And it's amazing how far you can come with 7 years of language study. Even after 2 years, people were like, oh, Dale speaks French. I was like, yeah, not really. But then 4 years when we were there, it's like, oh, actually, we're getting around. And 6 years later, it's like, oh, my goodness, like, we just had a conversation. It was ugly and bad, and I'm still not a great speaker, but 7 years of that goes a long way. I always wanted to go to the gym for, you know, an hour a day to look like Bill Kurth or my brother, you know, but I didn't do it. But then when I finally said, you know, I'm just going to do 25 push-ups and 50 sit-ups, and I did that for 6 months, and then I added the rower, and then I added an occasional run, and then whatever else, like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. Life is very long, and a lot of these really small micro habits that you can stack on go a whole long way. So 2 minutes, that's it. Any other last questions? We've only got 2 minutes though. Okay, thanks everybody.